Alright, hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of games I bought recently. These pickups here are from the past couple of months, and I've got some really nice deals in here that I'm excited to show you guys. For the most part, almost everything here is retro, so I hope you guys don't mind, but I figured I'd get started with Super Nintendo, starting with Ride and Trad on Super Nintendo. This is a complete-in-box copy. It's actually in really nice condition. This is also on the Sega Genesis, and I forget what it was. I did some research on both versions, and whatever it was, there was something in the Super Nintendo version that made me want to get this one instead, because there are some changes to the gameplay. So I decided to go with this. I eventually will get the Genesis copy, but I'm happy to have that. I picked this up a little bit ago. I can't remember if I've mentioned this before on here, but I got Cybernator, complete in the box, and this is a side-scrolling action game where you play as a mech. And I've watched some video online, and it looked really fun. This is also on the Super Famicom. I forget what they call it, but there were some pretty big changes made to the American version. They took out some cutscenes and like a really, I think there was like a suicide scene in here or something. There was some stuff that they took out from the American version that, you know, people say the definitive version is the Japanese version, but I'm fine with having the American version. This I am really excited to finally have a copy of, because recently there was a Kickstarter for the next version of this game from the series, and that actually drove the prices up on this game dramatically on eBay. And I was finally, after months of trying to get one, I was even trying to get it before the Kickstarter started, and that is Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo, a complete in-box copy in really nice condition. When the Kickstarter started for the new Shadowrun game, prices on this jumped up to like 70 plus. And luckily, I think I was able to get mine for like $35.40, which was a really good deal for the condition this is in. So when I get around to it, I'm really excited to get into this. This is one of my most anticipated games to play on the Super Nintendo. And eventually I will get the Genesis version, but I've heard some really good things about Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo. Alright, next here I've got some Sega Genesis games, but these aren't just any ordinary Sega Genesis games. They're Sega Genesis reproductions. And I got these from someone on NintendoAge.com. I think his name is Mr. Mark, I believe, but thanks to him, I was actually really happy with these. And I got a regionalized or localized version that will work on US Genesis systems of Zero Wing. And all these games come with the clamshell and artwork, and they come with a cartridge inside with the art on it. They don't come with manuals, but I haven't had a chance to play this yet, but I did play this in the arcade and on a MAME machine, and it's actually a pretty hard game, so happy to have that. I'm really excited to have this. I gave it a try, and it looks amazing. The sound is amazing. It's challenging. It's everything I'd want from a Genesis shooter, and that's Eliminate Down, a reproduction to make it an Americanized version. This game was out on the Mega Drive. This is known as being like one of the most expensive games on the Mega Drive. If memory served me right, if you were to get a genuine complete-in-box copy of this game, you're looking at like $500 to $700 if I remember correctly. So yeah, I'll definitely take the reproduction for a fraction of that price. It's a really good game, though. I haven't had a chance to try this one out yet, but it looks like it's a lot of fun, and that's Twinkle Tail. This is another shmup, and if you guys don't know, I've mentioned it before, I'm on a really big shooter kick right now in terms of side-scrolling shooters, so I've got a lot of them here. But this looked really fun and interesting, so I picked that up. And that was only out in Japan, I believe, so it's a localized version. Same thing with this here. I played this, and it was really, really tough. It's got a really good soundtrack. I like the style of gameplay to it. It's sort of like an on-foot shooter, where you're not in like a ship or a plane or anything, and you can you move on a really slow-scrolling background, and that is Underline. It's sort of got like a horror theme to it, where you fight in different like horror-themed environments, like graveyards and lava, volcanoes and stuff. It's a pretty good game. Very, very challenging. I also got Galay Lancer, and I tried this out as well. This is actually a pretty challenging game too, but it's a lot of fun, so I'm happy to have that. And I haven't had a chance to try this one out yet. It's on the Mega Drive, never released outside, and that is Curse, another shooter, which I'm excited to give a try. And this one is not a reproduction, it's a regular Genesis game, and that's a platformer called High Seas Havoc. This is a very colorful platformer. It's a lot of fun. I gave it a try. It has a lot of similarities, and people say it's a direct rip-off to Sonic because of the way the character runs and moves, and you know, the music is really bright and cheery, and it resembles Sonic in many ways. but it's still a very good game. I mean, obviously games are going to copy off of one another. They still do to this day. It's not a bad copy, and it's got a lot of challenge to it. Alright, next I will move on to some handheld games. First of which is a Game Boy Color game. I still haven't opened this up yet, but that's Project S11. This is a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up, and it's by Sunsoft, so I'm definitely looking forward to giving that a try. I got a complete in-box copy of Crystallis for the Game Boy Color, and I have not played the NES version still to this day, so I think I might give the NES version a try first and then move on to the Game Boy Color version. Really happy to have this. I forget the names of the top two games, but that's not the reason why I bought this. It was for the bottom game. And that's the PC Engine Best Collection, PC Engine Shoot 'em Up Collection, or not a Shoot 'em Up Collection. It's from a series, but the main game that I wanted it for is the one on the bottom here, and that's Sapphire. This is a game on the PC Engine where if you get a authentic copy, it's like a $500 game. So yeah, I will definitely go for the PC Engine port of this. The top two games are like graphical adventure games. I'm not even sure of the names of them, but they're almost unplayable if you don't know Japanese anyway. People that buy this game, it's for this shooter down here. It's supposed to be an excellent game, and I'm really looking forward to giving that a try. I got Gungnir for the PSP. This is a new game by Sting, and I'm a big fan of Sting. They've made Riviera the Promised Land, Nights in the Nightmare, gibr Union, games like that, and this is their next game released in physical form, thank God for the PSP. And I've put quite a bit of time into this. I'm about 8 hours into it. It's very challenging. It's a strategy RPG with that typical Sting flair, the really flashy graphics, a lot of text, and menus on screen. And it's got a really interesting combat system in that you can only move one character per turn. It's a bit hard to describe without showing you guys, but it's interesting. I'm not like going crazy about this game. It's fun, but I don't think I'll get around to finishing it. I also got Gravity Rush on the PlayStation Vita. Finally, a game on the Vita that is worth owning after the launch games. This game is amazing. If you have a PlayStation Vita, you definitely need to pick up Gravity Rush. It has amazing graphics, and what's really interesting about this game is that it's a third-person action platformer game, adventure game, but you can shift gravity, so you can run on the sides of buildings, you can float all over, you can play with gravity in any way that you want. It's got some RPG elements where you level up and you can learn new skills. And I'm actually really surprised with the presentation and the story in this game. It's absolutely beautiful. Highly recommended for anybody that has or plans on buying a PlayStation Vita. For the 3DS, I picked up Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure, and this is a music rhythm game by Sega, which is basically the best way to describe this game is it's 50-50. Half of it is like Professor Layton, the Professor Layton series, and the other half is like, your typical music rhythm games, such as Rhythm Heaven would be the best way to describe it. There's a map screen where, it even has that Professor Layton thing where you tap all over the screen to find hidden coins, and it has a mystery story. It's set in Europe, and as you go throughout, you talk to people, and it'll queue up music rhythm games. So instead of solving puzzles, you do music rhythm games. I'm actually really impressed with this. It's a lot of fun. It's got some really catchy tunes. The story's okay. The characters are pretty likable. But the presentation's really nice. It's got voice acting, it's got movie cutscenes. Highly recommended for anybody that likes Professor Layton or music rhythm games. I also got Heroes of Ruin for the 3DS, and, well, here's the quick story. I lost my 3DS. Long story short, it was on top of my Wii, and on top of my 3DS was like a whole bunch of other random stuff like a DVD. So I actually didn't get to play this as soon as I had hoped. I had to wait like an extra 2 days. So some people had this and they were playing online before me, and I was able to hop online with some friends here from YouTube, and it's good. It's what you'd expect. It's actually a dungeon crawl 4-player online game that supports voice chat on the 3DS, built-in voice chat. 4 different character classes. You find loot that's color-coded to kind of fit, if you're playing with friends, if someone finds a piece of gear for the paladin character, they can trade it to you for the mage character's equipment that you have. The graphics are pretty good. The 3D is a bit underwhelming. I actually prefer to play this game without the 3D on. Presentation-wise, it's pretty good. Overall, this is a good game. It's nothing amazing. It's actually kind of what I expected it to be. Nothing crazy. But if you're into these kind of hack-and-slash RPGs and you're looking for something that's a first on a Nintendo console, a 4-player online Diablo-type game with voice chat, definitely give Heroes of Ruin a try. Okay, next is Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm. And this is probably one of my most anticipated games from this year. And I was really disappointed when I couldn't find my 3DS. I had to wait like an extra almost 2 weeks to play this game, and my God, was it worth the wait. This game is amazing. It's possibly my favorite 3DS game right now, maybe only behind like Kid Icarus or Mario Kart 7. This is absolute fan service for Final Fantasy fans. If you are a fan of Final Fantasy and the series, you must, I'm telling you, you must get this game. If you're thinking about getting a 3DS and you like Final Fantasy, this is a system seller right here. What it is, it's just a simple music rhythm game that has songs from all the Final Fantasy games from 1 through 13. It even has a song in there from 13-2. It's got Final Fantasy Versus 13 in here. They got downloadable songs. It's $1 a song. And you can play through songs even from Final Fantasy 11. If somebody would have told me there was a music rhythm game coming out where I could play Final Fantasy 11 music to a music rhythm game like, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have believed them. So needless to say, I'm so happy with this game. There's different types of music rhythm. Some of them you're just tapping and sliding. Some of them you have to follow a line on screen. You have to trace it up and down as it's moving along. It's not remix music. It's all the original music from the games. It's not the entire soundtracks, but there is a lot of content here. It's got an RPG element to it where your characters level up. You get equipment and items for them. Some portions of it are a bit disappointing because essentially it makes you eliminate all the RPG elements if you're going for high scores in challenge mode, which I'm not a fan of. But man, I'm a really big fan of this game. I'm about 14 hours into it right now, and I can definitely see this as a game that I'm going to be coming back to again and again. Just a warning though, some songs in here will have a video playing in the background, and it will spoil the ending of the game for you if you have not finished the Final Fantasy game, so just a warning. Okay, O2 Media's excellent for the Xbox 360. This is the special edition version. It's a shoot 'em up by Konami, and this is a game that I wanted to get when it first came out, and I didn't get around to it, so I was happy to get a pretty good deal. I think I only paid like $30 for this, and it used to retail for $40. And it comes with a pillowcase and soundtrack and everything, so another shoot 'em up, another special edition. Happy to have that. And lastly, I don't think I mentioned this. I actually think I forgot to mention this on my last games I bought recently. But I got Tales of Grace's F, and I'll just come right out and say I don't like it as much as Tales of Vesperia. I don't like the characters quite as much. I don't like the battle system quite as much. I don't like that sort of like on-rails free roam style that they have going in this one. I like the freedom in Vesperia. I'm not a huge Tales hardcore fan because, don't forget, the only Tales games I've ever played is a little bit of Symphonia. I played Vesperia, and I played a little bit of Fantasia on the Game Boy Advance, and then this is the only other one I've played. But I couldn't get into it as much as Vesperia. I gave it a chance. I got about like 6 or 7 hours into it. Maybe I'll go back to it eventually, but I couldn't get into it, sadly. Really good graphics. It's still fun. It's got a great presentation, but just I couldn't get into it. Well, guys, that's going to do it for part 1. In part 2, I got a whole bunch of Sega Saturn games I'm going to show you. I've got PlayStation 1 games here, and I've got some Wii games and such. So definitely check out part 2, and thanks for watching.